Going live, going live, I'm live! Welcome everybody. I don't know if there's anybody already hanging out waiting here. My statistics say not, but surely some people will at some point show up. So I'm going to go over what we are going to do today, and that is I have no fucking idea. And there goes my monetization on the VOD. I've made this off screen. You might remember at some point I made a very big empty room and I was like, I'm gonna just like put some platforming in there at some point in the future. Well, we're at some point in the future. And last week or so, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, I made this over here, which is the bare bones basics of these platforming challenges. So we will enter through this door over here, then you walk through this not at all creepy hallway with skulls on either side. Fantastic. Then you come into this room where this platform will be moving up and down. And you'll jump over to this one and over to this one, which will be moving side to side. Simply move to this one, and then we've got a little bit of a split. We've got a relatively easy path, maybe a little bit too easy even. We'll figure it out. Going to the left side here, which will get you up here, through there, and that is the key that we're looking for. That's over there. So that's, again, maybe a little bit too easy, all things considered. I'm not entirely sure. And now I'm looking at it like a week later, that seems a little bit too easy. Because the other route that we can take is going over to the right here. And then, again, this one will be moving back and forth. You move over here, over there, and then I forget. Hold on. What was the plan here again? Oh yeah, we've got this one over here, which will be moving, you guessed it, back and forward. This one will probably be moving up and down. So you, from here, jump onto this one, then let it carry you over there, jump onto this one, and then simply make your way over these floating platforms to this little area over here, and this little area has a door into a different dungeon. The door into a different dungeon is much more difficult to reach than the actual goal of this level, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So maybe we should switch this around, is what I'm thinking. So it's relatively easy to switch around, right? Also, we have got some placeholder for like gravestones here. I've modeled those gravestones so we can actually implement them at some point in the near future. And I'll probably also put like an experience orb down here for people to pick up, is the idea. Yeah, I think what I'll do, or maybe I'll actually I'll put a key down here. That makes a certain amount of sense, right? I'll put a key down here. I think I'll do that instead. Sorry for burping into the microphone. Just at dinner. Yeah, let's switch these things around. So I'm going to take this door and pull it over to this direction over here. It's going to be a relatively easy door to get to. And we'll also need to change a little bit of the lighting if we're going to be doing that. But we'll think about that in a moment. Because I've got a spotlight here that is purple. But we'll probably increase the attenuation radius for that and make it a little bit more red to go with the color of the door. And then this is a slightly annoying angle to be working with. Let's see, that's a lot better. So what we can do is just move the key all the way the fuck over here. and then we'll move it over here and just drop it down. The thing though is it going to be obvious for players that they have to make their way over here? I suppose the fact that I'm lighting this up, and maybe I should light this up just a little bit more even. And now that this is not a red light, it's definitely the wrong light that I'm working with. Now that this doesn't have to be a red light, it can also be a little less subtle. So we can just make the barn door length a little bit less. Maybe move down ever so slightly. Like, this feels like it's drawing attention to it, right? Like, this is saying, hey, go up here. At least I hope it is. It's always kind of... It's easy to overestimate people, is all I'll say about that. It's also easy to underestimate people. It's just... estimating people is difficult. That's the entire thing about level design. Obviously. Which makes it annoying to deal with. All that said though, I do want to make sure I'm working in 113 platforming. I do want to put in a spotlight on this. Just fuck off with your efficient control, we'll be fine. I do want to put a purple light onto this one. And maybe make it a little more intense. Just to show that, hey, this is like important for this dungeon, because everything in this dungeon is themed around the color purple. If you hadn't caught on to that yet. Which you may not have, I don't know. We'll worry a little bit more about final lighting and such later. That said though, this is a bit of an issue, isn't it? This wall does not connect. I think this is just a static mesh floor, so we can just pull this up a little bit if I... There we go. It's doing the same thing here, so we can just... Like, if we pull this up a little bit more, like that's more than a little bit. It's actually quite a lot. So we have to pull up the door a little bit more as well. That fixes that issue. Now we just need to make a lot of animation. And not difficult animation. We just need to move these actors about a little bit. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So let's get started with that. We have the levels. Level World 1 purple, level sequences, cinematics, 113. How are we going to name these? Because we're going to need a fair few of these in the same level, right? And we can't just all call them moving platform because they're going to all be moving platforms. So, platforms exit door, and that's going to be controlling these two platforms over here. So let's just put it up there. That seems like a somewhat reasonable place to put that. And we'll open up the level sequence and set that to looping indefinitely and autoplaying. So this one should really be quite easy. We're going to be snapping this every 100 units. And I just want to have these actors both just moving back and forth. And like 3 seconds, does 3 seconds seem good? I think 3 seconds seem good. It doesn't really matter because we can just change the time scale anyway. This is just for the general timing. This needs to be at the same height as this other tower thing. Oh, and then they also do need to move back. Which makes it a total of 6 seconds. To be fair. I really don't like selecting a keyframe. There's probably a way to disable that. When you select a keyframe that your player also moves over to it, that's really annoying. Let's see, we move. We definitely need to have a little bit more light there as well. And then we also probably just put in some curves, right? So we add in some curves for the transform, and specifically for the location, X location, Y location, Z location. It's the, let's see, huh? Oh, I'm moving them in local space. That's why. That's annoying. I suppose we'll just do it like that then. Can we set these to being normalized view? It's much easier to work with. So we'll just disconnect the tangents and make them not insanely short, and then we can, in theory, should be able to just scale them. Maybe that's not how that works in Unreal. Doesn't seem like that's how that works in Unreal. In Blender you can, and it's really nice. But I suppose what we'll do is we'll just pull them out a little ways this way. We'll select these three, pull them out a little ways that way. And we'll just do the same with... It's really matter for this one. We'll just do the same with these as well. So we can select all three of them. Just pull them in a little bit. That way they stay at the ends a little bit without actually stopping their movement. I don't want them to actually stop their movement. This is easy enough as it is, right? So, and yes, I'm not necessarily making a 3D platforming game. I'm aware. But a little bit of challenge is okay. I need to keep in mind that a little bit should stay a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't be making any insane platforming levels, but just having them move a little bit like that, and then they can be slowed down. That's fine. So we can say this sequence will just play at, let's say 0.5x. And that does make me realize we're going to do this slightly differently today, because I'm in the persistent level, and this is going to be annoying because I'm going to have to replay this over and over and over and over and over again. And there's no combat here anyway, so stats don't matter. So what we'll do is I'll go into my levels, and I'll just open this streaming level directly. I'll need to put in a temporary extra light source because it's going to be really dark in here. Well, fuck you too, I suppose. World memory leaks, 24 objects and packages set to output. Okay, we'll just restart the engine. That's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's entirely fine. It's a very good start to the stream. We're not even 15 minutes in. I've already crashed Unreal once. Just because I wanted to open a level. Because that's very difficult, apparently. We can skip the restoration for that. I didn't really do anything. Oh, yeah, no, I did move a couple of items around. Well, we can do that again. That's not a big deal. Also, the changes that I did make were saved. So, never mind. That's okay. It's cool. Again, let's try this a second time. Opening up this level here. So we actually have the... Oh, this is really, really, really dark in here. And let's go into unlit mode real quick, because I don't think, yeah, we don't have a fucking floor. Yeah, we don't have a floor, and one of the walls is missing. Yeah, that's, let's go back to the streaming on the position level real quick and move those things into the proper level. The wall missing, I can kind of live with. Like, that's just funny. There not being an actual floor is actually problematic, so we need to move these over into the right streaming level. So we can just move selected actors to level. And if we turn off the platforming level, we also want to move these skull lanterns all into the streaming level too. And can you already tell why this specific portion of this specific level is quite intensive for rendering? Can you? Can you? Yeah, there's a lot of overlapping light there, but that's fine. I say it's quite intensive for rendering. It's not that bad. Could be a hell of a lot worse. Okay, so now everything is inside the platforming level. So we can go back again here. And now open this up. And still we should see a lot of darkness when I go back into lit mode. Like, a couple of things are lit, but there's like a general lack of light, and it makes these skulls look even more menacing, to be fair. But it's because my what's its face? My skylight is inside the persistent level, so we're just going to put in a temporary skylight here, which will be, I mean, this is not really for lighting purposes anyway. I'm going to decrease the intensity to like 0.4 to make it a little bit more like what it's going to eventually end up like. But from there, I can now, in theory, hopefully, this will work. If it doesn't, I'm going to be annoyed. I should be able to just put in a character here and make sure that its auto possess is set to player 0. And now should be able to play. Hello there, welcome to my misery. I mean, the stream, which I've made that joke a lot of times, I know, but generally speaking, I feel miserable while working on a lot of this stuff. So, looking over at this, that seems to be a decent kind of speed. I don't dislike it. I just do realize now, though, that in order to even get there to begin with, and to even see whether or not any of these jumps are impossible, because I have not tried any of this, what I need to do is animate these two things as well. So I suppose I'd better get to doing that. And we can do that in here, in level sequences, and we'll say another one here. Cinematics level sequence will be 113 first platforms. And we'll put that one somewhere around here. The positions for these two don't really matter that much in comparison to each other, that is. So I guess I'll just keep them like this and then say they take a second and a half, 2 seconds to move, both. I think about 2 seconds both seems fair. And then another 2 seconds for them to move back. And I still don't like the fact that copying over keyframes like this is such a fucking pain. Why can't I copy? Oh, that might be why. Hold on. Just for experimentation purposes, I'm going to select both of these. Then I'm going to deselect and If I just select both of them again, can I then? No, I still cannot. Yeah, so this is why I hate this keyframe system, is copying and pasting keyframes from multiple objects at the same time is an issue. And I'm not particularly happy about that. So I'm waiting on Bethesda Verify program. That sounds interesting. That sounds very cool. Been 4 days now since I applied, but might take a few weeks to confirm. How's the level design going? The level design is going not horribly yet, so that's a good start. But yeah, I suppose that Bethesda takes their sweet time with that kind of stuff, so might be a while. Is that to do with like making mods for Bethesda games, or is that something else? I do feel curious about what the fuck did I just do? Hold on. I don't know. I think I accidentally animated the rotation. I fucking hope I didn't, because that's gonna be wild if I did. Yeah, why does it pull those tensions down that far? For no fucking reason. I'm a little bit confused as to why, like, this one specifically keeps fucking up. I would, especially since I don't actually animate it in the Z at all. Matter of fact, why does the Z location even have keyframes? Get fucked. Like, there's no reason that this has any keyframes at all. We just need these two. I don't even think the X location really needs to have keyframes, to be honest with you. Maybe it does. I don't know. It's kind of annoying, but at a more understandable level, that it has to work that way. Because I'm moving them in local position, but they're keyframed, obviously, in global position coordinates. So if I move them along there, yeah, see, this one is now moving in a curved way. So I don't think I actually want any of the... What the fuck? So yeah, this one's now moving over a curve like this, and I don't know that I want that. Yeah, it's... is there any way to, like, set the local transform through keyframes? I wonder. Selection. If I do relative, just for trying this out, right? I should probably do it with this one, actually. Oh, it's a paid mod system. Fair enough. So in that transform, add additive from base section at the current time. Let's add a relative section. Let's see what that is like. So if I just say, hey, location Y, it does it in world space. I don't want to do it in world space. I want to do it in local space. Can I in any way facilitate that? There must be a way to do this. I'm gonna Google this real quick. Unreal sequencer, which means that I can't read the chat in a minute here. Unreal sequencer, move in transform local space. This seems like it should be a basic option. A lot of people are having this problem. What? What you need to do is to attach a possessed actor to your sequencer, so it makes you inform which direct possessed actor relative to the sequencer. That makes no sense because I just need this. Like if I rotate something and I move it, I shouldn't need to do that. What I thought didn't work, but checkbox name quaternion interpolation. This solved my problem. That's not what I'm looking for either. Is there really no way to change this location value to a local transform location? Because that is fucking dumb. Doesn't seem to be a straightforward, easy answer to that. Do you recommend a model to go into Unreal 5 or whatever you're using at the moment? It kind of depends. I mean, you use a tool that you want to use for the thing that you want to make. If you have aspirations to change from modding games to making games, or specifically maybe, I don't know how modding tools for Unreal Engine games are because I've never used them, but I imagine if you're modding Unreal Engine games, it might be nice to actually like know the engine a little bit more. If you're modding Bethesda games, you're not modding Unreal Engine games, though, at which point it doesn't really matter. But yeah, sure. If you want to make like full games instead of mods for other games, I can recommend the engine. If you're a modder that just wants to mod games, there's really no value, I'm afraid, in Unreal. Okay, so we'll do this differently then. What was the last time we had this in a straight line? Just Ctrl-Z the ever-living hell out of it. At some point, there we go. Okay. Can I instead maybe just say, hey, the entire location, or the entire transform for that matter, use cubic interpolation for all of them? Still not going to be great, don't get me wrong. Why did it work for those other ones though? Because those certainly aren't on a good alignment either. So maybe I just fucked up. Maybe I just fucked up. Let me try one more time. Oh. I just had a moment that turned me into Owen Wilson. So I can just pull them out here and then I can flatten them. Flattening the tangents means that they snap the fuck back. So that's not really... Okay, I can do this as well. Hold on. That gets me thinking, because if I hold down shift while I do this, it doesn't move the tangents. At least like it only moves them in one direction. Doesn't move them up or down, just left and right. That's exactly what I need. Okay, so that is the way we do this. Yeah, that's 100% the way we do this. Okay, cool. Now we pull this out to this line as well. And then let's see what this feels like. Probably should be a little bit slower still as well, but I'll look at some guides and YouTube stuff, basics about this tool. I'm going to go off now, so good luck with your level. Thank you very much. And again, it's fun to play around with Unreal, but if you don't plan on like using it for that kind of stuff, like making a full game, you probably don't even want to bother, because it takes a while to get a good grasp on it. At least it did for me. But you might not be even here anymore to hear that, so we'll see. Just move this out, and oh, actually, if we just keep that on auto, it has the same size on both ends. That's vastly preferable. Here as well, we go down, and we go up on a good curve. Hello, hello, hello for anybody in chat or just watching. I see that we, in the past 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we're already live for 30 minutes. Holy shit, I have not been productive at all. To be fair, I did crash Unreal like once within 10 minutes. Let's set this one to looping indefinitely and auto-playing at, again, 0.5 speed. But yeah, so viewers are starting to like trickle in a little bit. Then again, if we've been live for half an hour, they're probably not trickling in at this point. You guys have probably been here listening to me rambling on. So I'd still like to welcome everybody and say thank you for coming to hang out. And yeah, these probably should be offset. Maybe probably should be, yeah. I'm also thinking I probably shouldn't make those grabbable. And I'm going to show you why in a moment. This one, oh, it already is grabbable. Okay, sure. Needs to be a little bit more light here to show this platform. These platforms are also going to like have actual meshes at some point that aren't just, hey, it's a block. And then that gets me over here. Okay, so that's a pretty easy way to get over to that door, which gets you into a different dungeon. But I have to check. Hold on. Are these grabbable? Because I don't think they should be. It's kind of hard to test though. I'll test with that one. And again, I'll show you in a moment why they're not grabbable. And the reason that they shouldn't be grabbable is because my ledge grabbing system does not account for moving objects. So if we go into the physics here and we go into collision, and I set this to using a custom collision setup, and I also block ledge grabbing tracers, you will see how this goes horribly, horribly wrong really quickly. Either that or I'm going to be proven wrong, but I doubt it. It's a very easy fix though, so I might as well fix it, because it does make this platforming a little bit easier and probably just more satisfying as well. But yeah, so you grab onto this thing and then you just hang in mid-air. Which is not exactly... Wait, what? Oh yeah, that could be an issue. I'm not entirely sure why that happened. Hold on, let me try again. I want to hang in midair. Just let me hang, okay? I want to hang myself. No, that's not what I meant. Okay, so we do this again, and then if we don't touch anything at all, we never get reset back. Huh. Our gravity doesn't get reset until we hit something, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why doesn't our gravity get reset? Very odd. Not something that I'm going to worry about right now. It should be relatively easy to parent the character to this when I grab onto it, and then unparent it when I let go of it. So let's real quick go into my code and just implement that, because I think that will be nice to be able to do. At least we'll have it as an option, right? So ledge grab. Is that it? Just set parent for hit get actor? I think that might just be it. But then we also need to... I think it's in the jump function. If we're hanging, we want to first and foremost clear parent. No, clear parent. I think it's just as easy as that. I think those two lines of code just fix that issue. But with both of those lines of code, I'm definitely going to run into an issue because I didn't capitalize this C. I'm just kind of assuming that these functions exist. They have to. Maybe they're called something different, but by and large, these functions should exist, right? Okay, set parent might not exist. But clear parent might. I'm just going to look this up. Unreal set parents. It should just be a function, right? Set parent actor C++. Attached to actor is what it's called. Okay. And I'm assuming if I just pass in nothing, it clears my parent. Clear actor parent. Attach the root component of this actor to the root component of the supplied actor. Optionally add a named socket. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it would clear my parent. I'm going to do something real stupid. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT doesn't know that much about Unreal. In Unreal using C++, how do I clear a actor's parent so it is no longer parented to another object? Oh, detach from actor. You know what? That makes entirely too much sense. So we can say detach from actor. And that takes in the detachment transform rules. It doesn't need a object pointer because you can only be attached to one thing at a time. That makes sense. So let's keep world transform, and then we'll go back to where we try to set parents. I know I'm supposed to be doing level design, but we'll figure this out real quick and then we'll be fine. attach to actor, forward hit actor, keep world transform. That makes sense to me. It failed. Why does it fail now? Please do tell. It's this line. No, we don't want detach transform rules. We want attach. F attachment rules. Can I just copy that over, please? There we go. And then we want to keep world transform, and we don't want to have a socket. Now, this should not give any more compiling errors. There we go, live coding succeeded, which means that the entire game is going to break in about 2 seconds, because that's just what live coding does. But now, in theory, the idea, and there's like a million reasons still for this to go wrong, don't get me wrong, the idea is now that we should be able to grab onto moving objects, and we should not be stuck in midair with them. And miraculously, it actually just straight up works. Okay, that's real cool. I did not expect that to instantly work, not gonna lie. But that's amazing, because that means that we can make this whole platforming section just probably feel a little bit less annoying, because you can grab onto the edges of these objects now. So that's really, really good. Now, what we want to do is we want to increase the attenuation radius for this, and we also want to do this, something like that. And then we can make the color for this one a little bit more red actually as well. And now the question becomes, what do we do with this one? Do we light it from the side? Do we try that? Because that might not be the best idea ever. Or do we just try to light it from the top, like this? And then definitely not make it this bright, because making it this bright is insanity. But if we light it from the top here, and then maybe also pull out a light here and rotate that around. And this one maybe turn off casting shadows. We're gonna have an issue here with the character getting overexposed. Yeah, and it doesn't even cover where I need it to be. Yeah, no, this light is not doing anything. So what we'll do instead is... good question, what will we do instead? I guess what we can do is we can get a light lined up a little bit, something like this, maybe? And pull it back a little bit. Increase the intensity and then also increase the barn door length. That does something, at least. It's more or less the entirely... but maybe... A good day to you too. A good day to you too. It's mostly the lighting that's throwing me for a loop, right? It's as it usually is, making sure things are lit in a way that's not ugly but still guides the player's eyes is just a nightmare. Maybe I should just add a light source to the platforms themselves. I don't know, that kind of catches the eye. That's probably fine. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Let's just try this out. This is just for the optional path as well, I realize. I thought I might be able to make that with one dash. You can double dash, which is also a Mario Kart game. It's not what we're doing here. We're not playing Mario Kart. Would be fun to make a kart racer game at some point, though. Like, you can definitely just actually not make that. I mean, that's entirely on purpose that you can't make that way. That's good level design right there. Maybe if you just absolutely mash the dash key, you can make it in the window. But I literally don't think you can. Huh. I mean, that is 99% luck, but that also probably means that my dashing mechanics are just kind of... you can, but you have to really mash it. Okay. That's still okay, though. That's fine. Like, if you really want to make it, you can. But you need to put a little bit of effort into it. Okay, and that's the way you make it to that door. So that's the easy bit. Now the difficult bit, which actually gets you to the key. Which is going over in this direction. So this is just one platform that moves back and forth. Let's go back into here, level sequences again. 113 main route start. I don't know what to call these things. They just need to have names. That's kind of all there is to it. Autoplay and loop indefinitely. And then we pull this into there. And it takes 3 seconds for movement into this direction, and then another 3 seconds for movement back. Which again, please don't move my playhead when I just try to select the keyframe. It's really annoying. I know that just like selecting it like this fixes that. Like, that's a workaround, but that doesn't fix the fact that it's fucking stupid the way it works to begin with. Anyway, I've complained enough about that, I think, for right now. Location data. We select all these. And just... Nope. Pull these over there. Want to pull them all at the same rates over there. For this one, I don't think it matters as much. If we view them in a normalized view, maybe we can see some weird stuff, but I don't think it matters. Still, it's good to... I think we pulled it up to that line, right? It's like 3 of these boxes. 3 of those boxes. Okay, so what does that look like? Move over there. And move back over there. It's still a little fast. But it's okay. We can just say, hey, this sequence, we don't even need to play it at 0.5, like 0.65. How about that? Then we jump over to this, and then we have... Okay, first, before we do anything, like literally anything here, I'm going to pull over a light, because even I, as the person who's putting this level together, looking for where to go next, knowing that I have to like animate these things to move around. Can't actually find these fucking things, so a player stands no chance in hell of naturally finding any of this shit. Luckily, it is not that bothersome to say, hey, you should just be very wide. And probably just have a bigger attenuation radius still. Yeah, maybe even a slightly stronger intensity. And then this one simply... Honestly, I think just putting a light here will be fine. This one isn't even going to move, actually. It's mostly this one that I should be worried about being somewhat constantly in light. Let's just widen you up even more. Why not? While we're at it anyway, might as well. Except the fact that we're totally going to like literally jump into this light and it's going to be very, very ugly. Okay, let's not do that. Never mind. What we're going to do instead is we'll just copy this one over and make it less wide. And just move it down a little bit. Okay, that's a lot better. Good. Oh no, this one is going to be moving. It's going to be moving up and down. So if we move this down, does it like go into darkness significantly? I don't think to the point where it actually is a problem. Hopefully. I'm gonna tell myself that's not a problem. And just live with that fact. So let's make another one of... maybe we can just put that one into this as well. Nah, let's make a separate sequence for it. 113 wall platforms. Frankly, kind of surprised that the other one wasn't called wall platforms, but hey. We loop indefinitely, we autoplay, we open the level sequence, pull both of these items in. Fucking 100 frames. Sure. So 100 frames in, we move this one over here. This one moves down to meet it. And then at frame 200, we zoom out. And we can copy over these keyframes. And that should be that. Do make sure that one frame more or less doesn't really matter, does it? But still, do make sure that the cutscene or the sequence actually ends at a reasonable time. That even seems like somewhat decent timing. Huh. Didn't expect that. At all. Location transform, we just simply do the thing that we've been doing the entire time, which is this, and I still wish that I could just scale these like I can in Blender. That would be nice, but you know, now that I'm getting into like the groove of taking these keyframes and pulling them out like this, it's not that big a deal really. Yeah, now that I've done that though, with the curves, this definitely does need to be a little bit slower still, but once again, not a big deal. what we can do is we can set this to 0.6 or something like that. And then while we're at it, might as well select every single one of these platforms. Just actually select everything that is platforming relevant. And make sure that we can ledge grab onto all of these. I think that's them all. So we go into our custom values and we just make sure everything is grabbable. And then we go try it out, see if it's possible, and secondly, reasonable. And, well, there's actually only things to care about right now. First and foremost, whether or not it is possible, and then secondly, whether or not it is a reasonable thing to expect a player that is, mind you, not here to play a platforming game. Very much... Yeah, okay. Ambulance is going by, sure. Very much this game is not a 3D platform. Like, it has platforming in it. There needs to be a little bit more light there to make it more obvious that there is a moving thing that you should and could be waiting for. Oh yeah, there's no way in hell that you're making this jump, is there? Yeah, no, that ain't happening. Okay. But that shouldn't be that big a deal. We can just move this down like 200 units. Maybe across 100. That should make that jump possible. I hope. So let's try again. You see how quickly you can fill up an hour, because we're an hour in at this point, by just moving a couple of items around in a level? Like, this kind of stuff takes time. So much more time than you initially expect, which is always fun to see on stream, because even when I'm working on my own, right, if I'm just working on the... Yeah, it probably shouldn't require a dash, should it? Maybe it should? I don't know. Should you be able to do a platforming challenge without using the dash? The dash is both a maneuverability thing, but also a combat move, obviously, because it makes you invincible while you're doing it. So it does take 1% of your maximum MP every single time to do it, meaning that unless you're getting your MP restored back up through like a save point or through hitting enemies, you can only do 100 dashes, which I think 100 is quite a lot. But you also use MP for healing and for your special ability. So at that point, if you come to this room without the ability to dash enough and you mess up a couple of times, should you be locked out of being able to get through here? Or should I just like put a checkpoint in here to, okay, that is entirely my own bad. That wasn't even a lack of coyote time or anything like that. That's just me not pressing the button. So yeah, should these platforming... Fucking me again. Should these platforming challenges be doable without using the dash ability? Is a very important and interesting question, and I am losing my fucking mind here. It's my own game. Why can't I play my own game? Why am I so bad at my own game? Okay, let's not fuck up this time. How about it? You can't make that without a dash. That's for damn sure. With a dash, it's a very easy jump to make, though. So it's not even, in this case anyway, it's not even that you need a dash to make the jump like 1 out of 100 times. If you use the dash, you're going to make that jump. Just as easy as that. Unless you royally fuck up, which I've done a few times, to be fair. This also, like, none of this is particularly difficult, but the whole point of the platforming levels in my game is just to break up the gameplay and have the player do just something. Yeah, this should move as well, shouldn't it? Like, one of these should move, because this is not a makeable jump. Okay, so it technically is a makeable jump, but this is exactly one of those instances where I'm like, yeah, okay, that shouldn't be a thing. Also, I don't know why that happens. Is it... Oh, it's probably because of the displacement. No, it's just because that wall doesn't have collision. Okay. Anyway, I got distracted there for a moment. So yeah, that jump over there, which requires two very close back-to-back dashes in order to barely make that jump, that shouldn't be a thing. Like this one, from there to there, I probably should also just like lower this down and move this across a little bit, like I did with the other one. Definitely should also move the light with it though. And maybe just move this one along a little bit as well. And then move this one in that direction. That should make this jump a fair bit easier to do. Matter of fact, what I think I'll actually do is I'll even move this one a little bit over there. And then this one will move over there a little bit as well. I'll need to test this out in a moment whether or not this jump is now makeable, because that seems like it might not be. But this way, the direction of everything is kind of leading the player this way, which is where we want them to go in order to actually accomplish the goal of this level, which is getting that key down there. Because otherwise they might too quickly veer off into this direction, and I hope that this being a red door, while you've only been seeing purple doors, and then when you go into this you only see more red doors because you're now in the red dungeon, is a sign to the player that, hey, you're not in the same dungeon anymore. Because also, I can't see it because I'm not in the present level, in the opening room after you defeat the tutorial boss, you like get a good overview in a cutscene of all of the different dungeon doors, which all have a different color. So I hope that this speaks for itself, but I also want to encourage people to like take this path. So we'll see, I suppose, through playtesting at some point, if people misjudge that too much. Also, yeah, this wall definitely should get some collision, and Nanites enabled because it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the depth on the bricks, which is also, I think, is the first time that I'm on YouTube with this new texture. Do you guys like this new material? It should have a height map applied to it as well, but that only works with Nanite, so I should enable Nanite for that mesh. So yeah, now this is a very easy jump to make, and then like this jump requiring a dash isn't that big a deal because it's not required, right? So this makes total sense to me. You can't make this jump without a dash, but it's also a shortcut into a different dungeon, so that is fine. And you can, I think, honestly, if you time that correctly, you can make that with the ledge grab. That's what I feel like. I'm not entirely sure whether or not you can or not, because I suck at my own video game, as we have well established by now. Case in point. I'm just going to take it easy and just hang out here for a moment. It's really annoying that I clip through that wall every single time with the camera, though. Okay, let's see. If I do this last moment... See, having a coyote time there would have helped out. But I also feel like my answer to having the coyote time, which you usually have in at least 2D platformers. 3D platformers have it too, but it's not as much of a rule to have it. My answer to that is that I have the dash, right? So while you can't gain any height from it if you jump too late, the most optimal strategy for gaining a lot of distance is to jump and then at the apex of your jump using a dash. So you want to jump somewhat prematurely anyway. So I feel like, okay, but that is a easy enough jump to make now. Now the next question is this jump over here, because we moved this platform in a little bit, which makes this like an actual jump rather than just stepping on. Well, that's a good thing. Maybe I should implement coyote time because I am so happy. It's so bad at this. Oh god. For anybody who somehow isn't aware what coyote time is, in platformers, when you like walk off a ledge, most platformers give you like 3 or so frames still. About a tenth of a second. So at 30 FPS, that's about 3 frames. Maybe it's about 5 or 6 frames at 60 FPS. Most platformers give you about a tenth of a second or so to still input your jump and allow you to jump while you're already no longer on any solid ground. Because what players usually end up doing is they reach the edge of a platform, their brain sends the signal to push a button here, but the character keeps moving, and by the time their brain is all like, okay, now I should push a button, okay, so I'm going to push the button, I am now pushing the button. By the time they've pushed the button, the character's moved the last little bit off of the ledge. So in order for it to feel responsive and not feel like your input got consumed or anything like that, usually we compensate for that by allowing a jump input to be registered for the first X amount of time after you start falling down. I don't have that implemented yet. Frankly, I am kind of surprised that Unreal doesn't just have an option for that built in, because it's got so many quite niche features. Well, maybe not niche features, but things like building camera shakes are very easy to make yourself. But it has a pre-built system for that. And it has a pre-built system for a lot of things. And it has this whole character movement component, which you would assume might have a built-in coyote time thing, but it doesn't. It's also very easy to set up, so I don't care. But it's bothersome for me right now, so I'm not going to implement it. So we, at the very end here, have a platform that needs to move back and forward as well. I think I'm going to be moving this platform here, because this moves in and out of the purple, and I think this will catch more of the player's attention when they walk into the room. Which draws them toward here and makes them try to get here, rather than to the somewhat easier path that is over here. Which is also, like, at the start of the stream, the door and the key were in reverse positions. This entirely just makes sense as well, because you walk into a room like this and the first thing you see is the opening up there. And then only once you start looking around, and probably only once you get to this point and you look back, do you see there's actually something over there to look at as well. So I think everything we've done so far actually ends up making more sense, which is not always the case for me, but that's really good. Okay, so let's go into this mesh over here, and I'll just do this on my main monitor so you guys can see. I'll enable nanite support for it, and then I'll also add in a simplified box collision. And now that I have nanite support for it, you can see, hey, we actually have depth for the tiles and the cracks in the tiles, which, yeah, it's kind of pixelated depth, but if you're just like walking past it, it feels good enough. If you get real close up to any texture in any video game, it looks bad, obviously. But this, you can really, at least I feel like I can tell the difference between the flat ones and the not flat ones, especially from like a glancing angle, which it's a wall, so you're going to see it at a glancing angle every now and then at least. And it has collision, which is the most important bit. So we're going to be moving this platform back and forth. I think we have all agreed on that. And I'm going to make this one a little bit more purple as well. Not fully purple, There's still a little bit of white in there, but a bit purplish is probably a good thing. And then we'll set the barn door length a little lower. So again, I want the player to really have his eyes drawn to this corner over here. We'll make a level sequence called 113 final platform, which we'll put over here. Autoplay, loop indefinitely, open level sequence. And this is going to be a real simple one. We just take this one and 150 frames. Let's just stick with that for now and do the timing through the playback speed. Move that over there. Hold on now. What we do is at 150 we put it there, and then at 75 we move it over there. Yeah, so the one issue here is that it does move out of the light, and I don't really want any of my platforms to be moving out of the light. But I've got an ID. I got an ID. We'll just duplicate one of these lanterns over here and use that as a light source. Because that's what I made them lanterns for. I made these skulls as lantern decoration to have like a reasonable reason for things to emit light. So if I put like 3 of them here, that also catches the player's eye, hopefully. And then this is not even what if they're a little lower down? Maybe I need to angle them all down a little bit more. It does the trick, I suppose. Especially if I angle them down even more so they don't shine too much on the roof. The ceiling, rather. So if I turn these 3 off, yeah, that definitely impacts the lighting enough. That does the trick. They're not equally spaced though. Are they now? I don't think they are still. Now they should be equally spaced. That seems pretty equal to me. Don't forget to use the curve editor though. It's quite important. Move these over there. And honestly, I don't know if I really need to move these tangents as well, but I will do it anyway. Just because I have been doing it, might as well keep doing it, right? That's always a good reason to keep doing things, because I've been doing them. So might as well keep doing them. For those who didn't catch that, that was supposed to be sarcasm. That's not a good reason to keep doing things. Yeah, and they also, this one needs to slow down a little bit, but like 0.55, I don't know, I don't really care. And that should more or less finish up the gameplay portion of this level. At least in a rough shape. Obviously there's going to be many iterations and changes and things like that, and maybe some additions. Like maybe starting off, well, we're at it anyway, and I'm talking about that, we probably should start this one off with an offset of like 2 seconds. So if you run, you just make the first cycle rather than just not making the first cycle, because it's really frustrating in a platformer when you run up and you just about don't make the first cycle. This is really satisfying. Just walking, normal speed, you make the first cycle, and then, yeah, you just about make that one as well. That's really fun. This one is close enough to be acceptable. There definitely needs to be a light source here. Keep forgetting about that. All this is easy as fuck. But again, I know I keep saying this. These things aren't necessarily supposed to be difficult. Maybe they should be a little bit more difficult than they are right now, but not hugely so. These things are supposed to be here to break up the gameplay style of the game, not necessarily to offer a huge, ultra hardcore platforming, epic gaming moment platforming thing. And we can jump down and not grab the key, apparently. What? Why is there no key there? Is the key? The key is stuck on the persistent level, isn't it? It doesn't matter. That's fine. We'll change that around. Anyway. Okay, so this one over here. Slightly more intensity as well. Okay, so this one over here, we honestly just duplicate over a couple of these lights. Could I just make them wider? Yeah. But this works as well. Oh, you are with that outside of the attenuation radius of the... Why do you... Oh, that's the wrong slider. That's why. So moving all the way over here. That thing gets lit more or less all the way through as well. I should be a little bit careful with what I color purple and what I don't color purple, because I don't want the entire thing to just be 100% purple. I want the purple to signify the correct path, probably. So what I want to do is maybe make this path go slowly more and more purple. So this one is a slightly paler purple. A little bit more like this. Let's try to just copy over that color so we can reuse it. And then these ones are even slightly paler, so instead of using RGB, we're just going to pull down the saturation ever so slightly on this one. And we copy that over as well. Different light sources. This one. And then I think starting with this one, we're going to pull it out even more, but not entirely for it to be white. Should still be slightly purplish. I don't think that really looks purple enough compared to white. Yeah, this should be more purple, I think. We'll live. It's fine. So that kind of signifies with color that we want to be moving over in that way. And I probably also want to light this one from the bottom. So we can see, hey, there's a platform over there that we should be going toward. Because right now we don't have any such thing. And I also feel that we should be using some light channel trickery here. I've tried this a little bit before in the past. The issue here is going to be if I get up here and jump down, I'm going to jump through this light, and the light is going to cast, well, light onto the player as well. Until the second we pass through it, at which point we're going to like cut into... I'll just show you. You know what? I'll just... It's kind of hard to explain. I'll just show you what I mean. It's going to take a moment for me to get up there. So, in the meantime, how is everybody doing today? Everybody having a good time? Everybody having a good day? I'm tired as hell. I've had a long ass day. A productive day, but a long one. So I do like the fact that you can see that platform move up and down. Okay, I missed that one. Very obviously while you're making your way through these ones, so you know where you're supposed to be going next. Always good to be working on your game alongside some content. Personally, I find that if I work on my game, that's fine, that's fun. Seeing other people work on their projects, like following other game dev YouTube channels, that's what honestly inspires me a lot to keep working. Sometimes I'm like, there's so much work, and there's a lot of work that I don't feel like doing, and there's just a lot of things that I don't want to do, and then somebody uploads a devlog, I'm like, oh, fantastic, there is still hope in the world. And then I get motivated to work again for a couple of weeks until they upload another devlog, and that's kind of what keeps me going in life. Anyway, so if I jump down here, I'm going to get lit from below very strongly for a moment, and then that lighting is going to suddenly disappear. Which might not be an issue if you can't see it. Okay, that might be entirely fine. Honestly. Like, that might honestly be entirely fine. Maybe we can even widen the barn doors a little bit for this one. Yeah, never mind. I didn't say anything. It's cool. It's fine. And maybe these ones also shouldn't cast shadows. Yeah, it feels better if they don't cast shadows, I think. For this one specifically, though, maybe don't... Just make it thinner. Nope, that's the wrong slider again. Keep using the wrong slider. At some point I'm gonna learn. Eventually these are going to be not just simple blocks as well, so I probably should hold off on doing too much of the final lighting until I actually have all of the assets in place that are going to be here. Because the main idea here, and I'm going to move this one down a little bit more, just to make this feel a little bit more natural, not having such a hard through line through all these lights. The idea I have for these platforms is that they're going to be platforms made up of bones. So there's a good chance that because there's going to be gaps in those bones, that the lights coming from above are actually going to do a fine job just indirectly lighting the sides and the bottoms of those bones. So I think we should just leave it at there for the time being. And the same thing with these pillars, of course. I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm going to do with them, but there's a pretty decent chance that what I'll end up doing for these will be something like... okay, the skull is still very small. I forgot about that. Something like 20 times the size, maybe. Maybe even more, like 30. 30 might be a bit much. What I might do And I may need a lower poly version for this or a nanite enabled version for this. And I definitely will be doing this procedurally. But what I might end up doing is making some sort of system where I have the towers looking a little something like this. Of course, with random rotation and everything as well. Kind of giving a like Paris catacombs sort of feeling. But this will go up into like very high poly counts very, very quickly. So like every single one of these also isn't lined up properly with the floor. Every single one of these like 3,500 vertices, which is fine until you need like a couple thousand of them to make one of these towers, which at that point is gonna add up, right? So I'm not entirely sure on that quite yet. But something along those lines is kind of what I have in mind right now. So doing that and then just keep going like this. And once again, there's going to be random rotation to every single one of these, and then that kind of looks neat, right? I kind of like the look of that. I would probably want to like lay these out as bricks almost, so that they are like offset in a pattern like this. I'll just delete this one for the time being just to show you. Like a pattern a little bit more like this, and then with a little bit of random rotation to each one of them. Again, you can see why I am in no way planning on doing this by hand. Doing this by hand would take days. Full-time days of work to actually get any of this to look somewhat decent. Giving everything a random rotation by hand would be insane. It would probably end up looking marginally better because what I'm doing right now isn't actually randomness. What I'm doing right now is rotating these things based on their surrounding skulls. Yeah, no, it's pretty easy to put them all randomly into one mesh. Just making a generated mesh. I can just show real quick what I intend to do as a general guideline. Because what we can do is we can make a generated generated dynamic mesh actor. Skull. Can I rename it, please? I would very much like to rename this. I'm just going to call it Skull Wall for now. It's quite easy to do this. Regen generates on rebuild generated mesh. Append static append mesh. Static mesh Let's see. I forgot real quick. I mean, we can also instance them, to be fair. That might be even better. That might be even better. Because they're all the same mesh anyway, with the same material and stuff. And then we don't have to bake them down, which is probably even better. Yeah, if I instance them, it's going to group them all as one draw call, but it should do the same thing here if I, what I'm going to do here, and I need to figure out, yeah, copy from static mesh, that's what I want to do. It's been well, not a while, but how does that work again? There's a thing for repeating. Anyway, I think this should now no. Oh, to dynamic mesh. So here we can procedurally. For some reason, it's not using the proper material, so it might be easier to, in the end, use the other method through a construction script. Is it called repeat? Append mesh repeated. I think that's what we want to do. So if we repeat this like 10 times now, we should... No? Why not? Okay, I entirely forgot how the repeating thing works. There is an easy way to do this. Hold on. Do I still have that project file locally? I don't think that I do. I put it in my cloud, so we're not going to bother with that right now. Anyway, so what this will do is it will make a entirely separate mesh from the meshes that you put in. So it will be one draw call, but it will also be one object, which is also going to be better for your CPU, because as great as instancing this mesh is going to be, it's still going to need to keep track of every single instance as a separate object in the world, from what I know. So that's still going to have some CPU overhead, and it's not gonna be a big deal probably. I mean, I'm fairly confident in saying that it's definitely not going to be an issue, because, well, it'll be a couple of thousand instances, which is a lot, but they're also like not moving around or doing anything after they've spawned in, so it'll be fine. It'll just be a half a second longer loading screen is what that's going to be. But this will just be one mesh that it just draws, and it's just one object. It's kind of like an array modifier. It's just, yeah. I'm really bothered by not knowing what it is. I'm going to look it up. Maybe I'm doing something else wrong. It's probably putting it... Append mesh repeater. I'm pretty sure it's this one. I just don't know why. What I think it must be doing, and let's add this one to like 25 scale, is it's just spawning in the same mesh like 10 times on here. So if I make a transform and I say we want to offset this by like 100 in the z-axis, maybe that's what we do. No, that doesn't seem like it either. Maybe I'm doing something wrong with copy from static mesh. That's the, yeah, no, that's the one I'm using though. Apply transforms the first instance. Is that it? No, no, that's okay. I'm going to probably give up on this because this is not what we're actually supposed to be doing right now. I'm just going to try and Google real quick. Unreal geometry scripting append mesh. No, actually, let's do copy from static mesh. Append mesh just normally. And we will try to like offset that by like 1500 so that we just know that it has two of them, and it doesn't. Why doesn't it? You should be able to do that. I just don't know. I can do it with entirely procedural things. I think the issue that I'm having is copy from static mesh. So maybe we just promote this to variable and that is what we do. It's not what we do, is it? Nobody's giving me a full graph to show you how to use this node. Copy from static mesh. Yeah. That's what I'm using. Just putting a screenshot of it is not going to help me. Copy mesh from static mesh. This one. Extract a dynamic mesh from a static mesh asset. That's what I want to do. Why is this not working the way I expected it to work? None of this is working, or even about what I'm trying to accomplish here. Yeah, okay. We're going to abandon this this ID because I can't be bothered at the moment. This is really weirding me out. Copy mesh from static. Mesh. We're going to try one more time. Google Unreal geometry scripting. I'm just going to try to see append static mesh. This is very unintuitive, so somebody must have run into this as well at some point. Enable the plugin, that makes sense, yeah. Event setup, don't care. Building geometry, I know how to build things entirely procedurally, I just want to append a mesh. Just show me what I'm doing wrong when I'm trying to append a mesh. I know how to bake to static mesh, that's not the fucking issue. Yeah, nothing about this is showing anything. It's all about baking to a static mesh, which is not what I'm trying to do. I think instancing is the way to go, because if you have them all in one mesh, it still renders all the triangles of literally all the skulls, but instance it believes only renders the triangles of one of the skulls. That's a good question. That might be the case. That might be the case, yeah. I'm not entirely sure whether or not that would be truthfully better for performance. But let's just do an instanced one then. So let's normal actor, instanced skull tower. I'll put this side by side just so I can see what actually happens when we do this. Instance static mesh. We should be adding these procedurally actually. Add for just a for loop. Is it going to do that every time I add a node? Because if so, we're going to do this. I'm just going to loop through this 10 times for the time being. And then we'll add instanced static mesh components. I cannot imagine that this is necessarily going to be better, but set static. No, definitely don't want that. Mesh. that is instance static mesh. Oh, that's what we do. We add instances to it. Instanced. I was really confused there for a moment with the way the other method works. You add them through add instances. Can we probably want to do that through a loop still? I mean, this is not really a tutorial. This is just me fucking about. So in world space, let's do this in local space. Add a skull. No, it's how to do what you're trying to do. No? Now you can add multiple instances through. You don't need to add like a billion components. You add one component and that one component instances that static mesh as many times as you need it to. So we can say that instance transform, let's split that up. And for now, just for the sake of this video, or this, it's not even a video, for this test, we'll just stack them on top of each other. So we'll split structure pin again. Transform Z will be like, I don't know, how big is this fucking asset? It's real tiny, like way too small. Don't know how I ended up with a asset that's this small. Yeah, that's going to be an issue, isn't it? Probably maybe gotta fix that as well. For the time being, let's just assume that they're like 10 big, and then oh, it's going to be index multiplied by 10, and that should give me, yeah, you see, it's one component, but then it instances them a bunch of times. And then here I can just set them to 25, 25, 25 or something like that, and then they all overlap, obviously. Then I just set them to 100. It's a bit too much, maybe 60. It's just a bit of trial and error at this point. And then the rotation should be, I think, 90 in this direction. That's the wrong direction. 90 in that direction. There we go. And that more or less now has the tower of them that I want. Keep this at 50. I said 50, not 650. And then we add another for loop here. This is just the simple version of it, obviously. Because we'll need to make a system here where we can make a four-sided tower out of these things, and also have them all rotated somewhat randomly and all that kind of stuff. But for now, that's the... Okay, let's try this with the X location actually as well. Okay, so the first loop will be the Z location, and then the second loop will be the X location. And that gets me a rudimentary wall of skulls. And if I add a flip-flop, okay, that's not ideal. Can I check and the index is even? Is odd? Suppose if we just divide by 2. There must be a function for that, right? Unreal check int is even. Yeah, so we can... There we go. And this should output the remainder. So that should be not greater than 0. So anytime it's an even number, we'll add. I mean, at that point, we might as well just do a flip-flop anyway. I realize now. Sure, let's just not flip normals. Flip-flop. I like the word flip-flop. It's funny. What we'll just do is we'll add one of these again. And that will be the B. And we'll just add 25. And that should now offset them. If I connect this up properly. That should now offset every other... No, it does not. That's definitely not what I had in mind. Oh, hold on. I think the issue is it should offset every... Yeah, no. I just had a flaw in logic there. It should offset entire rows. So... I guess we'll just make a offset variable. And we'll just flip-flop that. So on the A pass, it'll be 0, and on the B pass, it'll be 25 does seem like the most logical thing, just being exactly in the middle. And then whenever we do anything, we just add our offsets to the X one, right? Yeah, to the X. Good. All right. It's a little bit more like it. Now, I do think that I actually do want them to make little ints real quick. I probably want them to be a little bit closer together. So let's make this 40. 45. Let's make it 45, shall we? There we go. And then we can random make rotator. Actually, we want to take... That's combine rotators. Now I need to remember, okay, it's the first one here, so it's X90. And then we want to make a random rotator. That's probably not going to go well, is it? No. Not even close. Okay, we'll just do this the old-fashioned way then. We'll split this and we'll just random float in range. From -50 to 50. I think we might only want this for the... Oh, we'll see. I mean, that's a little bit better already. That's a little bit better. I mean, all of this is now one draw call. And now that I think about it, because it's all in one object and even in one component, it might even just deal with them as one instance. So this probably is, in the end, the best, most optimized option to go with after all. Probably want a little bit of randomness in their position in the Y as well. So let's say like -10 to +10. And let's try to do these one axis at a time. So this is... Probably want this to be a little bit less. So between 20 and 20. Just a little bit of rotation in that direction. And then this one probably, like, actually more. -65 to +65. I think 50 and 50 was actually pretty good for this one. Okay. Then let's promote that to variable. Size. Automatically it'll be set to 10, but we can set it to 2. If we set it to 1, it's just 4 of them. If we set it to 0, it's just 1 of them. If we set this to like 50, it's gonna be fucking huge. I do think that there should still like be just a block behind it, because these are see-through. And unless we want to... I mean, if we're instancing these things anyway, we might as well go nuts, right? Shall we? I think we should. So what we could do, is what I'm thinking, is add a second layer of skulls behind these, which are then again like offset to honestly just random offset again in XYZ positions probably will be fine. So if we just I'll clean this up later. I just want to test this as like a theory. We'll condense this down into like functions anyway, because this is going to be a function that will generate a wall, and then we'll try to make this work in a way that it generates 4 of them in a box shape. I actually just realized that this is not going to do what I think it will. Actually, huh? That... No, that did not do anything because I didn't hook that thing up. Okay. I mean, for some reason, the rotation. Oh, that makes sense. For the most part, you can't look through this anymore. So that's good. The question is this a little overkill for instance meshes? The answer is, I'm gonna say probably. But it's fun. And in the end, isn't that what matters most? It's the fun factor. Well, and some of these are clipping through each other. So what we definitely should do is the Y location should have a offset added onto it again of like another -50, so that the second layer that we're generating is actually behind the first layer. And maybe we make these ones a little bit bigger actually, just so that they make sure that they cover quite a bit. It's a pretty cool skeleton wall, right? I think that's a pretty decent skeleton wall. So we collapse all of this down into a function, and we'll call this hold on a second. We'll collapse all this down into a function, I say, and then we'll just ignore the fact that it looks like absolute shit. The no tray, the actual output, I'm quite happy with. Collapse to function. Generates skull wall. And now the question is, how do we reasonably make this into a system that can generate 4 of these walls easily? Because we're going to need to start adding things to the location and the rotation for these as well. So yeah, let's clean this up a little bit. Because make vector this is going to take a while to fix up, so don't expect me to finish this today, because I'm very unlikely to. And I said I was going to stop this. Why can I not recombine these pins? Sorry, what? Actually, making an array might be easier. Like making an array of, well, I don't know, it probably doesn't matter that much now that I think about it. I can't right click this one either at all. What is this? Why? I am so confused right now. I'm going to save this and close it down. We're going to reopen it just to see. Okay, at least I can delete these nodes now. Right clicking works again. Okay, neat. I don't know what happened there. Might have had something to do with the fact that I also had the viewport open or something weird like that. There's definitely a whole bunch of bunching up happening here. I don't know why. I'm assuming it has something to do with this one. Seems like it. Can we make a random vector? Well, it just gets you a random vector direction. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. But what I can do is just use these three. I'm just trying to simplify the graph itself so it's a little easier to read and work with. I also threw away one of my random floats, apparently. So if we just make these into vectors, it's going to be easier to use a vector parameter for the function itself. And then for the y, we want these ones to be offset by 50. So that should work now, right? That's still doing weird stuff. Oh, because we need to add these two together. That makes sense. So that one plus this random offset. Okay, so we're back where we were a moment ago, except now everything is a little bit more cleaned up because we have these actual vectors that we're working with, meaning that we can also simply add vectors now to this through a parameter. So the way we're going to do that is a very good question. I think, honestly, what might be easier is not generating 4 walls, but what we'll do is we will generate, we'll loop through an entire thing as if we're trying to make a solid like block of them, but then only when we're on the edges do we actually generate these skulls. Does that make sense? I think that will be easier than trying to figure out the location for things. Because I don't really know where I would even start with that. So we're going to disconnect this one for the time being. What we'll do is... Oh no, but we still need to worry about rotation, don't we? So that's not really going to work all too well because we still need to worry about that. Okay. Okay. So the very first most important thing that we're going to be working with here is the fact that whatever we do, that's not what I wanted to do. Whatever we do, what we will end up having to do is combining these things with another rotation as well. So we'll add in a parameter here for the rotation, and that's called A. That's not a great name. So let's go down here and call that skull rotation base. And if we set that to like Z90 and recompile, they should all be rotated 90 degrees in the Z. It's not the axis that I'm looking for though. I'm looking for 90 in the Y. And now they're all looking into that direction. Okay, that's cool. I would very much like it to be based on that same rotator where the actual positions end up, if that's possible at all. It should be, because we can vector. Let's just try to hook this up into a vector pin. It's the easiest way to get the node that I'm looking for. Yeah, get X rotation vector. So that should get me a vector that corresponds to the direction. Does that really help me though? Does that really help me? I also just realized that we need to have a even and odd version of this one. Is there any easy way? I suppose the easiest way to do this is just make them parameters as well, right? Because now we can call this one row A offsets and row B offsets. Which we can set to 0 and then 25. Well, hold on. Speaking of 25. Oh, that might be what happened. They might have made it 1 unit big. Huh, that makes sense. So if I now set this to 0, 0, it should make more or less a perfect grid again. There we go. If I set this to 25 and 0, it now has switched around the odd and even rows. Right, that's how that works. That's how that works. Good. So that's a good start. So if we generate another scroll wall, if we just copy over this node, and we say for this one we want to generate alternated, and we want to generate them 90 degrees the other way around. It's going to have them all overlapping, but that's a good start. Okay, I think I have an idea. I think I have some ideas here. So all of this vector making, like this is all good. This is all fine. Is it though? What if we simply multiplied this? This is a insane idea. I don't think this is gonna work, but it's worth a shot. Like, what if we just multiply that with the rotation and then set that as the... It's probably not gonna work. Yeah, of course that doesn't work. Why would that work? That's not how anything works. Okay. How do I... My brain is only working at like 10% capacity, so I feel like I'm missing something really obvious that I could be doing right here. Well, we could just make one component for each of the walls, I suppose. Yeah, YouTube auto removes links, so that doesn't work. Trying to post a link in chat. Anyway, I've got the instant meshes working now. It's only the fact that I now need to generate this into 4 different directions, which kind of thrown me for a loop a little bit. I do think that the easiest way to do this would be just to have 4 different mesh components and just rotate those around. So that's what I'm going to do for now. And we'll figure out another solution maybe at some other point. But I do think that this probably makes the most sense for right now. So if I just put this into there, and I say, hey, the second one's real cool. We don't need to have the rotation base there either. So let's try to rotate this one around. Will it not let me rotate the... Yes, it does. Okay, cool. So we can... That's hardly ideal. Let's say that we want to rotate this minus 90. And then... just for pivot point reasons, I suppose. Set this to -1. Yeah, I think this definitely makes the most sense doing it this way. For now. So actually, let's go back in here. And for now, just remove that other parameter because we're not going to be using it. My only question though is, before we do this and commit to this as the solution, if I set this to like 5 now, yes, if I set this to 50, so that seems to still work. I'm a little nervous about whether or not this will still work with 4 sides. We should be able to come up with a solution for it, don't get me wrong. But this... yeah, so that is a bit of an issue. We need to offset the position for these ones as well, which we can do. We can do that. It's actually not that big a deal. Because we can very easily like make this like little cross thing, but it's not really gonna do it. So let's add sets local, add local offset. Maybe that's what we want to do instead. And the local offset for this one will be our size. Times 50 in the X and Z. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, that's not right. So this should be minus 50 first and foremost. So that's, and then X and Y. Okay. So far so good. This one we can just like cheese as well. We can just say, hey, -1. There we go. And then for this one, we want to add local offset as well. Size times -50. I'll just pull this over here. And that will be into the Y. No, this will be positive. So I'll just do this the very inefficient, weird way. Just to make sure that everything works. Okay, okay, okay. And now if I set this to a different size than 10, will it still work? That is the million-dollar question. I mean, it's laggy as all fuck because I'm spawning in a absolutely insane amount of skulls. Yeah, no, that... no. That has an issue, doesn't it? But that might just be because I should be offsetting this by 49. No, that's not it. It should... I should end up with a system where I can do this at any size. And that's definitely not what this is right now. So that's an issue. I'm never going to have a 50 by 50 grid, don't get me wrong. I'm just a little bit confused as to why the offset isn't working properly. Oh, hold on. I think I have an ID. Because... no, that's actually not a reasonable excuse for it. But what we definitely should do is we should make sure that... let's see... For mesh 1 and 2, we have them flipped. And then for meshes normal and 3, we actually set these like that. It still says message retracted, so I'm going to go ahead and guess you try to post a link again. It's not going to work. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. Okay, so hold on. The offset for this one should actually never be changed, right? So for instance mesh 3, the offset should always just be oh no, it should be because the origin point is over there. this shouldn't be the issue, because at that point, might as well try size -1. I mean, I do think that that actually is that the issue. Did that fix? I think that fixed the issue, didn't it? Well, for the most part, there's like still a couple of gaps every here and there, but nothing we can't fix by going back in here and re-adding the bigger skulls in the back. Let's do this only when the index is less than the size. So it only does it for everything except the last one. I might also want to check if the index is 0. So we don't do it for the first one either. Yeah, we don't want to do it for the first one either. Index also has to be greater than 0. Make this an AND. Okay, that's a lot better. So now we've got my thing that spawns in a fuck ton of skeleton faces. Actually worked out decently well. And then of course we also do need something that will put... Maybe I don't want skeletons for this. Maybe I want to put like bones across here or something. But then, nah, that's going to be annoying. We'll figure it out, I'm sure. Now what I want to try is, say, if I have a corner handle and I spell it wrong. That's very important. You have to spell things wrong, otherwise you're not a real programmer. And I say I want this to be a 3D widgets. Needs to be public for that. That makes sense. I want this to be a 3D widget. It should show up somewhere. Maybe not in here though. Where's the origin point anyway? Let's set it to 100, 100, 100. Maybe it doesn't show in the preview viewport. Could be. Let's try to pull one of these in. My god, it's actually not that bad. Wow. Okay, so now the size. Well, no, actually, let's do this properly right away. We'll take the corner handle and we'll break it. So that way we have the X, Y, and Z values that we want from that. Now the only question is which one is X and which one is Y and which one is Z. Oh, and this one only allows for me to make them square as well, now that I think about it. So yeah, this is why I wanted to use generated mesh, because there you can simply lay them out in a grid and something and stuff like that, much more like geometry. Yeah, let's not do it this way. We're just going to only be using this to make squares, and that's kind of going to be the way we do this. That said, though, we can make a like a square size and a height at least, because this index is the one that goes into... Oh my god, this is horrible Okay, so we have this goes into there, which goes into the X. The Z is being done from the first one. Okay, so we have promote a variable, the height. Cool. So we've got the height, which we can easily set to something higher, like 50. Okay, 50 might again be quite high. As by default, set that to 10 as well. And now we have those in independent variables. So we don't need that corner handle anymore. That was a dumb ID. Well, it wasn't a dumb ID. I'm just not going to bother with it. So we have the size and the height. And these definitely should not have collision, because making these have collision would absolutely fuck your game. There's a lot of low poly skulls that I put in here just to show the ID like an hour ago, and then I went to show more of the ID and then I just made it. So you're welcome / I'm sorry, I don't know which one. Size will be like 15 maybe. Wow, 15 is actually a pretty good guess. Holy hell. And then there's 25, 30, 34, 33, 33. Okay, so that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for here. Now the question is, does this look good? Is this fun? Is this cool? Or is this really fucked and weird? And did I just like waste an hour on this? Because I feel like I might have, maybe a little. Definitely some things clipping through other skulls, but that's kind of just something I think you might have to accept when you want to that's actually pretty well placed. When you want to do things like procedurally like this. 39 then, there we go. I think I like it. Let's go look at it in game. See what it feels like walking right up to it. I feel like the skulls might be a little on the big side. It also, I mean, it does feel like it does tank my frame rate a little bit when I see them. Let's see, stat FPS. 30 FPS, 20 FPS. It does kill my frame rate like real hard when I walk up to them and have them on screen. They look real nice though. They seem to have individual collision. That's definitely not helping, I assume. Can we disable the collision on these? I thought instance meshes didn't have collision at all. Let's just say no collision. Let's say that for all of them. So they all have no collision now, right? Does that improve matters? Do be aware that this is in editor and that might be influencing things a little bit. Yeah, now the moment they get on screen, I lose like 10 frames per second. So yeah, they might be instanced, but there's still a lot of them. But I think I don't have nanites enabled yet on this on this static mesh. I just don't know if Nanite works with instant static meshes. It should, but I'm gonna Google this real quick. Unreal Engine Nanite instanced meshes. With instance meshes, the mesh will load and spawn a lot faster than using static mesh nanites. Yes, both will be render nanite instance. So that's kind of the thing that I'm wondering about, right? Is at this point, am I better off not instancing these things and rendering them with nanite? Because I don't think they will be able to use nanite due to how instancing works. But let's enable nanite support just for shits and giggles and see if that changes anything significant. I mean, that does seem to... Let's go to medium quality because that's a more playable scalability anyway. And see how that impacts things. So right now I'm hovering about 60 FPS. When I round this corner, there's a little bit more lighting going on. I lose a little bit, and then this does push me down to about 50. So I don't know. This is starting to seem like this might not be the most usable asset. Like if I just if I put one over on every single tower here. The height for this one will be like 28. That's a remarkably good guess. Wow. And then this one, 24. Also 25. Like this is doing numbers on my frame rate, I feel. It does look really kind of cool though. It really does. So maybe I'll just need to get rid of the back row, because that does halve the amount of instances that are needed. Still, again, pretty good guess. So yeah, let's try this out as well, just to see. Again, at about 50 FPS when walking through here, and then around the corner there's going to be a lot of skulls, and it might have just been the lighting and not the actual skulls, because this holds up remarkably well. Yeah, no, this is totally fine. Still, I do want to try if I go in here and I disconnect this one and we compile that. Number one, what does this look like? I mean, honestly, if I just make a material with like a bone material to put behind this, I think that'll work fantastically well, and that saves me a little bit. But it doesn't actually save me that much in performance, right? Like looking at this, I don't think that actually changes my performance significantly. So yeah, now the instant static mesh way is definitely the way to go, I think. I think we'll be doing this. So let's hook this one back up, because it doesn't seem to be impacting performance necessarily, and it does, well, it impacts it a little bit. I mean, truth be told, there's a little bit of impact that I can definitely see here, but Yeah, that's real cool. So let's just do a run through here. Actually, I do want to do one more thing, because if we're going to do this anyway, we might as well add a box collision to the entire thing, right? Which we'll add to the default scene route. Attach. Okay, so in the construction scripts, we'll also set the box collision at local offsets, and the local offset here will be... It's a good question. I think it will be our size times 25 in the X and the Y, because it should be in the middle. And then, well, actually just our height times 25 too, right? That should put it exactly in the middle of the whole ordeal. Or somewhere outside it, of course, because this needs to be minus 25. Okay, maybe not. So this one is positive 25 and the X is minus 25. Yes, there we go. And then we can set box extent. And that one we can use the multiply 25 for the X and the Y, and the multiply 25 for the Z. And that should give me for both of these, I think what I want to do is I want to add, not multiply, be insane. I want to add. I want to add like 20 to both of those. Maybe a bit more than 20 actually. Let's make literal floats so that we have just one number that we need to change every single time. Maybe just like add one entire skull, because we need to add it at both sides as well. What the fuck? Something weird's going on there. If I say add 100. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no, that's what we want. So again, going back down to 50. It's still not lined up properly. I don't know why. It might just be to do with the fact that it's not properly aligned out. So that's the Y location. Do we want to have like size -1 for this? I think that is exactly what we wanted. Yeah, so that looks pretty decent. We probably want to add a little bit more to the box extent for the Z as well. Just like add 20 to that as well. And then I would almost forget, by default, these are set to overlap everything, I believe. Yeah, overlap all. We're going to change that to custom. And it's just gonna block everything. Just everything. So that should now let me get rid of all these. We'll get back to adding in like a roof for these at some point. So one thing for free, it's definitely not going to be denied. The roofs for those are probably just going to be like skulls as well. Just a separate function that generates a square of skulls that it puts up top. As easily as that. Show collision for me real quick. What the fuck? Why is your collision offset so weirdly? For all of them. Huh. Okay. So if we set the size to something else in here, like 10. So that is the issue. But why? It seems like it's maybe just not changing location at all. Yeah, it's just not changing location at all. Is this component set to movable? Yeah, it is. Why doesn't this component move around? Let's reset this back to 000, 000, and then compile. Am I going insane? I feel like I'm going insane. Location. Is it add relative location instead? I mean, it didn't need to do that for the other ones, but we can try. Let's make a vector. And see if that behaves any differently. There's no reason that it should, but it might. It sets the box extent properly, so... Okay. Wrong direction, but it's moving. And moving is a good thing. Okay, let's set both of these back to 0 for the time being. If I change this one to 25, what happens? it moves over there. I mean, if we just... I don't understand why it would be half of half. Like, why would it be 1/4? Right, that's the thing that I'm kind of blanking on. But if we just do this like 12.5 and setting this to 12.5, that should now put it, of course, needs to be minus 12.5. You see, that doesn't make sense. For the positioning, apparently it fucking does. I mean, we can just multiply this again by 2. And the height... height also needs to be 12.5 for some reason. I don't know why that is the case. Like, that's really confusing. We can convert that back to an integer, that's fine. I just need this one to be 12.5. And then you to be set back to your original position. Like, if we do that, everything should be more or less good, right? Set this to like 100. $500. Why is that moving it? This is literally only hooked up to the box extent. That should not be moving anything. Unless the box extent is... Yeah, no, none of this. None of this makes sense. I suppose I need to multiply this by 2 as well again, actually. Okay. I don't think we need to add 20 anymore. I'm gonna be real with you. Yeah, we definitely don't. Yeah, we don't need to multiply that by 2. Okay, I'm losing my mind. I'm actually losing my mind. I have no idea. I think what I need to do is I need to take a step back and look at this again with a fresh mind later on. The basic idea of this thing works. It's just something here is... Oh, that might be why, actually. Maybe. That might very well be the issue. Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay. That's still extending too much. Why do these extend further than the one? I mean, it doesn't matter that much because there will be a top layer on here anyway, right? So it should be fine. let's set this back to a more manageable size to look at. Like 20. This looks like it should be pretty good, but then when I actually pull it into the level, the box collision is too big. Not for this one, but when I set it to size 10, also not. When I set this to 50 height, there's just a little bit of height too much that gets added every single instance, every single layer. So I think what we should do is we should probably subtract the height value of the Z-box extent, which doesn't really do much for this, but might improve things. I don't want to say I fixed things with that, but it certainly improved things a little bit. And at this point I've been live for 3 hours, so let's just see what this feels and looks like, and then I'm going to get the fuck out of here. That said, we did make a good bit of progress, right? We did animate those platforms, which was one of the things that I wanted to do, and then I also experimented around with... What? Dude. Your collision preset is set to block everything. Don't fucking tell me that in here, your collision preset, it's set to blocking everything. Why aren't you? Oh, those query only. That makes sense. It should do both. Query and physics. Before I even bother jumping, I'm going to try to run into it to see whether or not I can pass through, because I definitely still can. Okay. Why? Is it because generate overlap events is still on? Because if that's the case, that's kind of dumb. But we'll try. Yeah, I have decided that I don't care. At least not for right now, right here on stream. As far as like looks go, I like the look of this thing. I will no longer show collision, please. Like, this looks pretty cool, right? These like stacks of skulls that you're platforming over. Strictly speaking, I was supposed to do more level design, unless... Well, you could say that this is more level design than art because I already made those skulls, right? Right? That's a good excuse? I feel like that's a good excuse. I'm really bothered by the fact that, like, does the actor as a whole have weird collision settings somewhere or something? Because I don't think that they can do that. Collision enabled, blocking everything. Is it because it's itself is set to world dynamic? That might be the issue. Hold on. World static. The player might not collide with world dynamic. That actually makes a lot of sense if that's the case. That's not the fucking issue though, is it? In that case, I don't know what might be the issue. I'll figure this out on my own time. For now, thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out and having fun and chatting and all that kind of good stuff. I'll figure the rest of these skull towers out on my own time, and we'll have a pretty spooky kind of thing. And I don't know next time whether or not we'll be going back to finishing up the enemy that we were working on, or if I'm gonna like maybe make a little bit of art for these platforms as well, and we'll have like pretty much this entire room finished. We'll see. I don't know. I'll be back on probably Friday doing some more work. Until then, stay safe.